Hello, welcome to video number 11 in the series Hebrew, Ivri, Ewe, Ewe, the Black Man. My name is Seyram Ajanku. The picture in the background is that of an Ewe Kente cloth from the book African Majesty, the Textile Art of the Ashanti and Ewe. I chose this cloth because the center weft has an image of twins on it. I did this because I want to give you one of the oral traditions of the biblical account of how Jacob, outsmarted Esau, out of their father's blessing. The story is found in Genesis from chapter 25 to chapter 27, thereabouts. I think we all know it, but if you don't, please go ahead and read it. So the Ewe account, one of the accounts, was recorded in the 1800s by the German anthropologist Jacob Spieth, who spent over 20 years learning about the Ewes of West Africa. This is an excerpt from his book, De Religion de Ewe in Sud Togo. That's my attempt at mimicking the German accent, which I don't speak. I don't speak German. I found this English translation on the Gifford Lectures page at giffordlectures.org. It reads, how one of Mawu's twin sons cheated his brother out of his father's blessing. Side note, Mawu is the Ewe word for God. It is not the names, not the proper name of God, but it is the designation God. So therefore, Mawu, the word Mawu, the name Mawu is also used for things that are not God, like idols, small g, the small gods, right? But when we refer to Mawu or Mawugan, that means the great God. That's the most high. Let's read on. But while Mawu appears to be essentially a god of the physical sky, now keep in mind the Europeans, whenever they encountered us worshiping the Most High, they always attributed that to us worshiping the sky. Anyway, so moving on. Popular fancy invests him with the form and attributes of a man. He is supposed to be married to the earth. Hence, he is addressed as husband of the earth and also as our father. According to one account, he has two wives. His first wife, Koswako, bore him a son named Maute, who stammered. His second wife, Baka, bore him a son named Adede, who did not stammer. One morning, Adede went to his divine father to greet him. Touched by this polite attention, his father promised to bestow on him his power, his royal insignia, and his warlike accoutrements. But Mau's other wife, the mother of the stammerer, happened to overhear this promise, and she said to her son, stop stammering and speak rightly. Go to thy father Mau, that thou mayest get his royal insignia. Her son Maute obeyed, and when he came to his father, Mau, and spoke to him without stammering, his father thought that he was his son Adede, and gave him his royal insignia. But after that, Mau had thus deceived his father. After that, Maute had thus deceived his father. Mau's other son Adede came to his father and said, Father, I have come to thee to get what thou didst promise me yesterday. His father said, hast thou not already come and received that which I promised thee? But Adede answered, Nay, I have not been with thee. Then said his father, therefore have thou thy brother taken away the promise, and I possess nothing else. But his son Adede earnestly entreated him, and his father Mau bestowed on him power also. Now, I don't know why the the interpretation of the translation of this story had to use the Old English, the King James, but it was interesting to read. All right, the footnote. The footnote says this story is told by the natives in the neighborhood of Mount Agu. This is in the Volta region. It presents a suspicious resemblance to the biblical story of how Jacob, at the instigation of his mother, intercepted the paternal blessing which was designed for his elder brother Esau. And they cited Genesis chapter 27. Notice how the commentator admits that the story is eerily similar to the biblical story, but never was he able to conclude that it is in fact the exact story. Although similar, the oral story of the Eves and the biblical account present some differences in the details, yes. So which one should we believe? Which of the accounts is the accurate one? Well, if you know oral tradition, you know that the story is at the mercy of the teller. The longer an oral history is retold without record, without recording it, the more disfigured it becomes. The biblical account, however, is found in the Torah. The oldest complete Torah is said to have carbon dated all the way to the year 1250, 1250. In this instance, the Jacob and Esau account given by the Agu Eves was recorded by the German in the 1800s. So hands down, the older written record, the biblical account, is the most accurate of the two. All right, let's go to the names. All right, so today's topics are mostly based on Genesis from chapter 22 to chapter 26. The names are Edom or Edom, Ayin, Shebah, Mount Moriah, Jireh, an update on Samuel, and finally Selah. All right, in Genesis 25, we read about how Esau sold his birthright to Jacob for some stew. Verse 27 to 34 reads, once when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open country, famished. He said to Jacob, quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished. That is why he was also called Edom. Jacob replied, first sell me your birthright. Look, I'm about to die, Esau said. What good is the birthright to me? But Jacob said, swear to me first. So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil soup. He ate and drank and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. So it's clear here that Esau sold his birthright to Jacob. From that time on, the birthright no longer belonged to Esau, but Jacob's. It was like Jacob's, fair and square. So why did Esau try to take the blessing, the birthright, when Isaac was ready to give it, knowing full well that he had no right to take the blessing? Why did Esau try to steal the birthright from Jacob? So who is supplanting who? It seems to me that Esau attempted to supplant Jacob, but Jacob was fast and on time. Verse 30 tells us that from the time Esau ate Jacob's food, he was therefore called Edom or Edom. It reads, he said to Jacob, quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished. and they have it in brackets. That is why he was also called Edom. Great. Let's look at what Edom or Edom means. Edom is found in Strong's H123, and it is spelled Aleph Dalet Mem. That's ADM. It's spelled pretty much the same. It's spelled the same as the name of Adam. So a lot of times I find people interpreting this as the same name as Adam and linking the red stew to Adam and saying Adam was red also. So let's look at the let's look at the modern Hebrew meaning of Edom. They said it's red. In Latin, it is pronounced Idumea. Idumea. Keep that in mind because we'll get to that in the Ewe meaning. The Ewe, in Ewe, we can say Edum. The consonants line up to be able to clearly discern, to clearly see that it is Edom. Edom means he has eaten of me or he has eaten from me. Does that make sense? Genesis 25 verse 30 is where we have this clue from. Now, the word for stew in the Masoretic text is spelled Nun Zayin Yod Dalet, which is NZYD. That word can be found in Ewe as well. The consonants perfectly line up to form the word, the phrase Nujinda. Nujinda means some red stuff or some red thing. Nujinda. The images on the left are not put there to make you salivate, but they're just examples of red things or red dishes that we eat within Everland and actually probably all across West Africa. We have red, which is beans and plantains. And then at the bottom, there is fufu and palm nut soup with goat meat. There are so many other red dishes that we eat. In fact, many of our soups and stews are red or reddish. Keep that in mind for the next slide. Ayin. Ayin is the name of one of the ancient Hebrew pictographs. The meaning given to this pictograph is the eye or sight or experience. It is said to represent the sound a or e. In Ewe, Ayi is the name for beans or peas. It just so happens that we refer to the kernel of the Ayi as Nku, which means the eye. This is worthy of note because further down in Genesis 25, in verse 34, we learn that the stew or pottage that Esau sold his birthright for is translated as lentils. Lentils are a type of bean or a type of ayi. According to the Dictionary of Etymology, the earliest known usage of the word lentil was in the 12th century AD, and it was French, pronounced lentille. This tells us that the usage in Genesis 25 is simply an approximation to whatever food the original story cited. Well, till today, beans play a significant role in Ewe culture and history. In our migration story, we are said to have planted beans everywhere we sojourned. This earned us the nickname Ayible, meaning beans farm. This morphed into Ayibe. According to one version of the oral history, and just known oral history. I grew up knowing about this Ayibe. This is noted in the book The Ewe-Stämme by Spieth. which was published in 1906. I cited it earlier. Beans and plantains, also known as red or Ayin, is a staple meal in West Africa. We simply love the stuff. Red palm oil gives the dish its bright red color. So, we're still in Genesis. In chapter 26, we encounter the name Sheba or Shiva. Verse 32 to 33 reads, That day Isaac's servants came and told him about the well they had dug. They said, We found water. He called it Sheba. And to this day, the name of the town has been Beersheba. Sheba is found in Strong's H7656, and it is spelled Shin Bet Ayin He, which is S or SH, B or V, A H. It is pronounced Shiva. The root word is S or SH, B or V, A, which is Shin Bet Ayin. The modern Hebrew meaning is an oath. The root word means 7. That's the number. In Ewe, SHVA is Shiva or Tiva. Shiva means water has come. Shiva or Tiva. There's a second possibility, which is Shiva. Shi is for Ashi or Asi, which is the hand. Va means come or has come. So Shiva means hand has come. All right. The next two names are based on Genesis chapter 22. The first name is Moriah. Moriah is the mountain where the Most High told Abraham to take his son Isaac and sacrifice him there. The reference is in Genesis 22, verse 2. It reads, Then God said, Take your son, your only son whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you. 2 Chronicles chapter 3 verse 1 also tells us that Mount Moriah is where Solomon began to build the house of the Lord. Moriah is found in Strong's H4179, and it is spelled MWRYH, which is Mem Wow Resh Yud He. The root word is spelled RAH, which is Resh Aleph He, and also Yud He, YH. The modern Hebrew given to Moriah is chosen by Jehovah. In Ewe, MW stands for Mawu. Mawu is the name God, and it is the Most High. That's the title. It is not the proper name of God, but it is the title, the designation God or the Most High. RAH stands for Yira. Yira means bless. So in Mawu, in MWRAH, we have God bless. Now, let's focus on the root word that was given in the Strong's definition. We have YH and RAH. And like I said, that means God bless. Ya, Yira. It means blessing. Moriah is Mawu Yira. That means God bless. Now, let's go back to the scripture. We'll pick it up from verse 12. At this point, they have arrived on the mountain, and Abraham is ready to kill his son. It reads, Do not lay a hand on the boy, he said. Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son. Abraham looked up, and there in a thicket he saw a ram caught by his horns. He went over and took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called the place, "The Lord will provide." This is what is Jehovah Jireh. And to this day, it is said, "On the mountain of the Lord it will be provided." Keep in mind that in other translations, the word is Jehovah Jireh. We'll get back to that. I read on. The angel of the Lord called to Abraham from heaven a second time and said, "I swear by myself, declares the Lord, that because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son, I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand on the seashore. Your descendants will take possession of the cities of their enemies, and through your offspring, all nations on earth will be blessed because you have obeyed me." Now let's look at the name that Abraham called the place in verse 14. Jehovah Jireh. Genesis 22:14 says, "Abraham called the name of that place Jehovah Jireh, and it is said to this day, in the mount of the Lord it shall be provided," or it shall be seen. Jireh is found in Strong's H3070, and it is spelled Yud Resh Aleph He, which is Yrah. I think you can already see where we're going with this. The modern Hebrew meaning is to see or to provide. In Ewe, Yrah means bless. It is Yira. Yira. Here are some other examples of this Yrah. We have Ira. It is found in Strong's H5896, and it is spelled Eyra. Eyra, and it means Eyira. Eyira means he has blessed. E stands for he. And Eyira or Ira is a chief ruler for David from the tribe of Manasseh. And we'll find this reference in 2 Samuel chapter 20, verse 26. The next one is Iram, and that is found in Strong's H5902, and it is also Eyira. It is also Eyrm, which is Ayin Yod Resh Mem, and it is also Eiram. You have an M at the end. The M stands for me. So in this meaning, we have he has blessed me, Eiram. And Eiram is a son of Edom or Edom, which is the reference is in Genesis 36 verse 43, and we also have First Chronicles chapter 1 verse 54. Next we have Mary or Miriam. They have it as Miriam, and that is found in Strong's H4813. We've talked about Mary before, but let's re-emphasize this point. And the spelling is Mrym, and it is Miram. That is Ewe. Miram means bless me. You, plural, bless me. Miram is the name of the sister of Moses and Aaron, and also the mother of Yesu. And we have the references in Exodus 15 verse 20 and Luke 1 verse 42. I mean, there's so many more references, but for the sake of time, we'll just put two over there. So let's talk about YRA versus RYA. It is a difference in pronunciation. That's all it is. You have Yira and you have Ria. Some non-Ewe speakers tend to mispronounce Yira as Ria. Even some few Ewes themselves have this difficulty as well. For example, for Eira or Eiram, some would say Eriam. See the difference in pronunciation? So instead of Eiram, some would say Eriam. Where we say Seira or Seiram, some would pronounce Seria or Seriam. This seems to be the same phenomenon happening in the Miriam and Moriah names. So Miriam becomes Miriam and Mauyira becomes Moriah or Moriah. This is why the root word for Moriah would be R-A-H and not R-Y-H. So because R-A-H is Ra and not Ria. So there you have it. All right, that's all for Genesis chapter 22 for this lesson. Let's look at the next name. All right, so here we have an update for the name Samuel. Therefore, it came to pass when the time was come about after Hannah had conceived that she bare a son and called his name Samuel, saying, because I have asked him of the Lord. Now, the whole within the entire chapter and then some, we have the history and the story of Samuel, and we know about the character and the work of Samuel. So Samuel is in Strong's H 8050, and it is pronounced, well, let's skip the pronunciation they gave us, but let's look at the spelling. It is spelled Shin Mem Wow Aleph Lamed, which is Smwal. The modern Hebrew meaning is his name is El. So as you can see, that's not really an interpretation of the name. And this is what happens when we have transliterations instead of actual interpretation. But anyway, in Ewe, SMW, the previous definitions that we had put forth were Semo, which is God's way, and Seme, which is man of God. And those still stand very well. Those still are those the two meanings still perfectly match with the scripture. Now the update to SMW is Semawu. MW is for Mawu, Se, Mawu, which means hear God or hear the Most High or hear from God or the Most High. So that is the update given for Samuel. So we have Semo, Seme, and Semawu. That is God's way or man of God, and he hears from God. So this man of God is in God's way and he hears from God. All right, Selah. Selah is found in Strong's H5542, and it is spelled SLH, which is Samech Lamed He. The modern Hebrew meaning ascribed is to lift up or to exalt. In Ewe, SLH is Selah, which means the one who hears, or it could also be Selah. Selah just means just hear it. Selah, hear it. There are many Bible references for the word Selah. One of them is Psalms 3, verse 4. It reads, I cried unto the Lord with my voice, and he heard me out of his holy hill. Selah. In Ewe, we say Selassie, meaning the one who hears has heard it. Who is the one who hears? It is the Most High, of course, Yahweh. Why would the Israelites, Yasarah, deem it necessary to make this statement. The one who hears has heard it. The answer is simple. It is because there were idol worship. There was idol worship all around them. Deities made of wood and stone, etc. They all have ears. Well, some have ears, but they cannot hear. They have mouth, but they cannot speak. They have eyes, but they cannot see. But the Most High hears everything. He sees everything, and he speaks. So the people would say, Selah si, which is to say, God, the Most High, has heard it. He is the one who hears. Selassie is also given as a name. It is a popular name in Everland. So that is what we have for Selah. It is Selassie. The hearer has heard it. Or also, it could be in reference or to people. He who has ears, let him hear. That also is a restored meaning of this name or word. So we have arrived at the end of this presentation. Now, I need to speak regarding this. I think most of you who follow my presentations know, but some of you may not know. The African traditional religions or spiritual practices are not indigenous to the Eves or the ancient Hebrews. I repeat, African traditional religions or spiritual practices are not indigenous to Eves. We have our oral traditions and records of interviews conducted by Europeans which validate this statement. Knowing the history in the scriptures, we know that almost everywhere our people settled, they adopted the idols and practices of their neighbors. Our people effectively took all of the things which were meant for the worship of the Most High and dedicated them to the worship of idols and spirits. Yes, in my opinion, the idolaters practice the rituals of the Old Testament better than anyone. They do. It's just plain and simple. They maintain the old ways. Although they practice the rituals, they practice the things ordained. They address their worship to things that are not God, to things that are not the Most High. They don't address it to Yahweh himself. In this blowing wind of awakening of the people of the children of Yasara, the enemy has wiggled his way into our midst and spreading lies, luring Yah's children into idol worship and practices such as voodoo, divination called Afa or Ifa, and all sorts of abominable things. We all know that Yud He Vav He is the Masoretic spelling of the name of the Most High, and it is directly pronounced Yahweh. There are other ways of pronouncing it, such as Yahweh or Yehovah and others. The Ewe people have always used the pronunciation Yahweh, even before the arrival of the Europeans. But did you know that because the Most High is said to thunder, such as we find in Jeremiah chapter 25, verse 30, where it literally states, the Lord will roar from on high. He will thunder from his holy dwelling and roar mightily against his land. That certain, not all of our people, certain of our people interpreted that as the Most High is the thunder. So they formed a cult dedicated to the worship of the thunder deity and called him by the name of the Most High, Yahweh. Although this practice predates the arrival of the Europeans, it is still going on in Everland today. And it is a classic example of two things. One is how oral tradition twists the information. That's the danger of not recording the tradition. It is not our fault. Well, it is our fault that we did not obey the commands of the Most High, which landed us in the predicament that we are in, which is our people being taken into strange lands, and also ourselves being put under heavy burdens in our land, which is still ongoing. But it is not our fault that the oppressors destroyed our records and killed our wise men, our old men and old women. That was the habit of invasion. When they invade, they must destroy your records. They wipe out your history. They kill those with the knowledge. If you kill an old man or an old woman, you have essentially destroyed a library. And that was a war strategy. And then the indoctrination of forgetting about your own language and your own ways and adopting your oppressor's language and their ways in such a manner that you are even forbidden to name your child in your own language. You must adopt, one of their names, and they call it a Christian name, which most of their names have nothing to do with Christ. But our names always have something to do with the Most High. Now, the second is the children of Yasara taking the worship that belongs to Yah and giving it to idols. Just as Aaron made them a golden calf in the wilderness and said, "Look, Yasara, this is your God who delivered you out of Egypt." These people say to themselves, "Look, this is the Most High. He is thunder." So then they went into worshiping thunder as a deity. So I say this to say, be discerning, be vigilant. Don't get bamboozled. Don't get lured into African traditional religion. It's not the way. This is not your history. The way is in the scriptures. Don't be bamboozled. Don't be bamboozled either in the diaspora or in Africa. As a rule of thumb, if it goes against what the scripture teaches, then you better throw it out with the trash. It doesn't belong to you. All right, that's all I have for now. You stay blessed. Yayira Nami.